All right, welcome back to Parliament, and of course sitting at the Cape Town City Hall, and this is where today's opening of Parliament for the 7th administration will take place. At 7 p.m. tonight, President Cyril Ramaphosa will of course put into motion all the visions, the plans, the strategies for success for the 7th administration. And of course it's a joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament, and dignitaries invited. We've been told that all the former presidents have been invited, not sure who has confirmed or not, and other dignitaries as well. The judiciary will also be represented here today, so it's going to be an interesting one given that there are new rules. So we've kind of become accustomed to some disruptions during these joint sittings, but it's going to be interesting to see how the new rules are going to put pay to that. So the EFF, they've indicated that that is no longer how they do things, but there is of course also other parties, and it's going to be interesting to see if anybody raises any sort of objections later tonight. But the new rules make it clear that the only thing that's to be discussed is the items on the agenda, and there's only one item on the agenda, and that is the address of the President Cyril Ramaphosa. So we are here at the Nelson Mandela in Cape Town Legacy exhibition, and as I said earlier during our first crossing, it speaks to the road that South Africa and Nelson Mandela have traveled. So this is an exhibition, was first launched in 2021 and is now in the process of being revamped, and a permanent exhibition that will be here at the Cape Town City Hall. And as you can see, lots of pictures of people who've also impacted not just Nelson Mandela's life, but also the journey of South Africa. Pictures there from his time on Robben Island as we walk through. These are scenes from his cell. This particular picture was taken in 1977. I also want to go back just to this wall here behind me. And as I said, it speaks to many pivotal points in our history as a nation. And so we see on this wall, for example, the UDF and the part that the United Democratic Front played in the liberation of South Africa. Imam Abdullah Harun, you can see a picture of him there, and we will remember that there was that inquest into his death last year, and also a number of other people, Eddie Daniels, Ashley Creel, picture here of the Reverend Alan Bussack, along with the now late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and another mourner at the funeral of Ashley Creel. Frances Bart, there's a picture of her addressing a crowd there as well, and so many other pictures, as we say, you know, just dotting our road to this democracy. And some of the posters from back in the day, those are featured on the opposite wall as well. Again, a lot about the UDF. There's one about Solomon Mahlangu, Save the Patriots, all to do with the death penalty there. And these are some of the posters going back in time and just reminding us of the road that we have traveled as a nation. And as we move further, that famous picture of Zinzi Mandela, who had delivered that famous address on behalf of her father, Nelson Mandela. That picture is here. And then, of course, some of the international solidarity. This was a picture in London at the 70th birthday for Madiba that was held at Wembley Stadium. And there, People's Leader Freedom at 70, some pictures there of calls for Mandela's release as he turned 70 in 1988. Quite nostalgic there, looking at the cars from back in the day. And then, of course, the defiance and new government leaders, all of those pictures also reminding us of where we have come from. And then, of course, this little statue here, replica of the one that's out in the balcony. And this is the one overlooking, standing in exactly that spot where former President Nelson Mandela stood when he was released and gave his first speech as a free man here from the balcony at the Cape Town City Hall. So speaking now to Asanda Ngwasheng, who's a political analyst, about today and what we can expect. Asanda, good morning. So the opening of Parliament, the 7th administration, and of course very different from anything we've seen before. It's the first time that the ANC doesn't have a majority since the dawn of democracy, and it's interesting, the composition of the government of national unity, the expectations of South Africans, and of course what can we expect the president to say tonight?
Well, good morning. I think what's very interesting is, first of all, the fact that even the term GNU at this point is contested and going to court, because what it actually is in part, it is a government of national unity, but the dispute is around whether a government of national unity needs all political parties to be involved, or if you have the majority of political parties involved. We've got 18 political parties in parliament, and of those about 9 or so are in the coalition, and we saw some of them meeting the president and the cabinet and trying to discuss and come up with a plan for South Africa. And what's interesting to see is how already the tussling that we expected around policy has already started happening, with the education minister from the DA already saying they want to take the Bella bill back to parliament and they want to convince the president not to sign it into law. And so we're going to see a lot of politicking outside the space of Parliament. So it's going to be interesting to see what role Parliament can play in this very interesting, very diverse and very new formation. And of course, what's going to be the most interesting for me is that for the first time we're going to have a fully black opposition, with the DA having in a lot of ways given up its position as the official opposition outside of Gauteng. And so seeing MK and the EFF now being fully in that opposition space, and it's going to be interesting to see how they use that role and how they embody that role, because of course it's going to be different to how the DA has embodied it. And of course, for me, what's also interesting is how are all these political parties that are within the GNU itself going to make sure that they don't end up disappearing in this government. And I'm interested to see how this GNU could be part of a depoliticization and de-party politicization, as well as it could lead to some very interesting turns around ideology, because the DA cannot go far right and say some of the things that it used to say before, because they have to consider the rest of the coalition, and also the other political parties within the coalition have to think about what they say and how they say it. We've already seen the president having said that ministers need to make sure that they get their marching orders first around issues before making declarations like the ones that Gaten McKenzie and others have been making. And so it's a really interesting time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how all these political parties are going to embody this new formation and what this means really for South Africa's democracy, because it doesn't matter what formation of government we have. The most important thing is, how is this going to lead to better leadership for South Africa, and is it going to lead, and is this going to lead to better service delivery? I'm quite happy to see that there's a big focus on local government and fixing local government. Just yesterday I was in Johannesburg, driving through Craig Hall Park and wondering, am I in Randburg? Because there's just so much destruction at a local government level that our cities are becoming unrecognizable to us as South Africans.
Well, so much more to unpack. Asanda Ngwasheng will be here with us at the Cape Town City Hall, which is, of course, a parliamentary precinct. And we're going to let you to studio now. We're going to take you to studio. Liesl Wilson standing by with your latest news. But we will come back and speak a little more. And we're also expecting the Minister in the Presidency, Kumunzo Chabeni, to tell us more about what came out of that Cabinet Lekgotla.